All right, this is my update to my wheels video. I got a call from Summit saying Wheel Vintiques is canceling my order, even though waiting since June for the 6.5-inch custom offset. So I ran into a problem where this rear end is now too wide, but I still wanted my 1510s with my two 95/50 15s on here. So found a guy named Bill who said, oh, just cut the welds out and we'll move it. We'll move the center section out, which is what I needed. And he had a lathe set up with some dial indicators. Helped me get it trued back up. And I finished, he tacked them for me in 4 spots, and I finished welding them all the way around on the inside. So this is how it looks. So here's a 6.5-inch backspacing, 10-inch wheel. Plenty of room there. Plenty of room up there. And remember, you have to account for the tilt. When you go around a turn, this rear end swings up into the wheel well and would hit in there if you were too close. Okay, this will never move here. This doesn't flex. But that rear end, when it tilts back and forth like this, that's where you'll get rubbing if you're too close to the inside. But I've got plenty of room there. And I've got the sway bar on. Remember my custom mount sway bar, custom stock sway bar with my custom perch or sway bar bracket. Remember I modified it so that there's an extra hole now. So yeah, E-body rear end, 10-inch wheel. Make sure you have the proper 6.5-inch backspace, and then it'll fit just right. So here's the other side. See, lots of room up there. Lots of room right here. Plenty of room where the front of the spring is by the tire, because this is the part back here that you've got to, your offset shackles and front mount move this in. Because with the stock shackle and front mount, spring perch, it'll, the front spring hanger, it would rub right here if you didn't move it out an inch. So here's the other side. Plenty of room up there. But remember, you can always play with your adjusters. Like I was saying, you put an adjuster on each axle. That way you can move this tire in and out. You know, to center the axles on the rear end if you've got one side closer than the other. All right, so I've got to pull the tires back off, paint the insides of the wheels where I welded them. So that's next, pull them back off and paint them. All right, so this is my modified wheel. This is my Harbor Freight tire demounter. So what you do is to use this, I don't know if I can do this without my tripod, so let's see if we can get a good video here. Take out your valve stem. I always hand mount all my tires. But here's my weld. Here are all my welds. Got to make sure you have your 100% fusion or else somebody's going to die. So that's what I'm going to scuff up and paint. Self-etching primer and then silver wheel paint. But to get this tire off, if you guys don't know how to use this, all that does is push the bead down into this section here, which gives you enough room to take it off the other end. So let's get this on here. And you got to take your valve stem out so your tire can depress. And let's see if you can see this while I'm watching what I'm doing here. So what you're basically doing, you're just pushing the tire down into that section like that, which breaks the bead, and it also gets it down into the depression of the wheel that lets you work the opposite side off of the wheel. But then as this side's keeping it depressed in that depression, I use a couple tools. Here's this other wedge I use. Just going to show how easy this is to put on and take off. See, if you see that, the whole tire easily comes off. Yeah, before I got this, I think it was $45 from Harbor Freight. I got it about 10 years ago. Yeah, sometimes it was hard to break the bead on some of these tires. One side's all the way off. So what I would do now is break the other side off the bead. Either using this tool or it's already loose. And then walk the whole tire off. So I'm going to paint this up and then do the opposite to remount the tire. And but that's how this comes in handy. Okay, pop the bead on the other side, which is kind of loose because I haven't driven on this since I put the tire on it, just for fitting. So now that that's loose, as long as you have the bead in that depression, you should be able to just pull the other side off. Sometimes with soap water, you don't even need any tools. You can just put it on there by hand and it just slides on the first time. So let's see. Stand it up, it's a little easier. You see, it's all already just about ready to fall off. So sorry about the poor video, guys. Let's just get in here and pull this wheel off. Look at this. It just falls out of there. So yeah, especially the wider the tire, the easier it is to throw it on there. And you do the opposite to mount it. Tire just sits in the low spot and the other side just falls right in there. Time to paint. All right, here is my tire. Here's my painted wheel. So to show you how easily this goes on, let's do it like this. Remember, the tire just has to sit in here. So I'm gonna go like this first. See, there's one side. My valve stem lined up. And now you start working it on. And then I just kind of kneel on it to keep it down in that groove. Remember, if you let it get out of that depression, then you won't be able to get this side in. So I'm standing on it to keep it down below that lip. And that's it. I make sure that's lined up. And normally I'll put the valve stem back in after I air it up the first time and seat the bead. And sometimes as I'm putting air in it, I sit on it. And then that gets the tire to seal against the bead. So that's next. I'm going to put air in it. Okay, let's fill this tire up. I've got the Schrader valve and the tool ready. So put this back on the tripod. And let's get this bead seated. Okay, so valve. Let's get this, like I said, I kind of jumped up and down on it while I'm adding air. All the way around. Put the valve in, then pump it back up. It just lets the tire relax on the wheel, and I guess it'll center itself a little better when I air it up the second time. So let's put the Schrader valve in there. Then fill it back up. Alright. So if you can see from my other video, now that there's less backspacing, or more backspacing, 6.5 inch compared to 5.5 inch, when the trim ring is on there, now the gap doesn't look so bad or as deep as it was with the gap in there isn't as deep as it was with a 5.5 inch backspacing, and you still kind of get your reflection of the circles. So that compared to that big space is an inch less. So I'm going to put these back on the back of the car. I just do a bubble balance on them temporarily till I can get a real good balance from a tire shop. They charge me $10 a piece. So I get it close enough with my weights and a bubble balance just to be able to drive the car. So we get the other one mounted and get this one on the car. Hi guys, this is a real quick update to my wheel saga. The wheels that Wheel Vintiques was gonna make for me, they canceled. So here are my new wheels, the ones I just re-welded myself. So the car's out. Here it is in the light. Everything fits in there just right. So there you go. There's the inside, my custom tilt column. The car hasn't been out in a while, since Carlisle in 2020, but it's fuel injected with an Edelbrock ProFlow intake with a fast easy EFI computer. It self-tunes as you drive it. So air cleaner is off an 81 Chrysler Imperial, which they tried to do fuel injection on and it didn't work. So I have an air cleaner that I converted over to a carburetor for a guy with an 81 Imperial. Alright, so there's the stance. And there's the tire tucked in there with a E-body rear end with a 1-inch offset spring hanger kit. Thanks for watching, guys.